Welcome to soralaw, where we uncover the untold stories of those who have fallen victim to the darker side of human nature. Today we take you to Westchester, Ohio, a community known for its quiet streets and friendly neighbors, where 23-year-old Ellen White was living her dream life. Known to friends and family as Ellie, she was a free spirit with a passion for the arts and a bright future ahead. But behind her cheerful smile and vibrant life, Ellie was hiding a terrifying secret, a relentless stalker who was watching her every move. As we delve into this harrowing tale, prepare yourself for a story filled with unexpected twists, shocking revelations, and a tragic end that no one saw coming. In the summer of 2018, Ellen Ellie White was living a life full of color, music, and creativity in Westchester, Ohio. Originally from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ellie had moved to Westchester with her family, but now lived alone with her pet gecko Gale. Described by her family as a free-spirited soul, Ellie loved everything about the outdoors. Her mother, Tamara, fondly recalled how even as a child, Ellie would be found outside in her nicest dresses, digging in the dirt and planting flowers. Ellie had just earned her cosmetology license, and her future looked bright. She was planning to start her own business, combining her love for beauty and art into a unique venture. But as the summer days stretched on, Ellie's positive outlook was being tested. For almost a year, she had been receiving disturbing messages from an unknown person. What started as occasional messages had turned into a relentless onslaught of harassment, with the stalker using different phone numbers, usernames, and social media accounts to terrorize her. The messages were vague at first, strange comments on her appearance, veiled threats, and unsettling observations about her daily routine. But they soon escalated. One day, Ellie received a video on Facebook that left her shaken to the core. The video was filmed from outside her house, showing her sitting at her kitchen table, completely unaware that she was being watched. The person behind the camera exposed themselves and performed lewd acts, leaving Ellie terrified. Her best friend Hannah described the situation as a sick game of cat and mouse. Ellie felt like she was living in a nightmare, constantly looking over her shoulder, wondering if the person was nearby. She finally decided to call the police, hoping they could help put an end to the torment. When officers came to her house, Ellie showed them the messages and videos. They asked if the name Mikey or M meant anything to her. Ellie mentioned that she had an ex-boyfriend named Michael Strauss, but she hadn't spoken to him in years and didn't think he could be involved. The police filed a report, but their advice to Ellie was disheartening. They told her to take self-defense classes and to stay inside at night. Ellie was devastated. She didn't feel safe in her own home, and the police's lackluster response left her feeling even more vulnerable. But she agreed to take the self-defense classes, hoping they would give her some sense of control over the situation. Her mother, Tamara, signed up for the classes with her, determined to do everything she could to protect her daughter. But the harassment didn't stop. The messages continued, becoming more sinister by the day. The police couldn't trace the messages back to a specific person, as they were coming from masked numbers and fake accounts. Ellie was living in constant fear, and her friends began taking turns sleeping over at her house to keep her company. But even with the added security, Ellie couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. On the night of July 28, 2018, Ellie was chatting online with a friend named Nate. They had talked about meeting up in person, but that night, Ellie wasn't feeling up to it. She had been anxious all day, and the thought of going out made her stomach turn. Nate mentioned hearing about a creep who had been following her, but Ellie brushed it off, saying, "Oh, no one is creepy to me, so I don't know." She told Nate that she was just going to stay in and head to bed early. Ellie locked all the doors and windows, drawing the curtains tight as she had become accustomed to doing. She sent one last message to Nate, telling him she was going to sleep and would talk to him in the morning. What Ellie didn't know was that she wasn't really talking to Nate. The person behind the messages was her stalker Michael Strauss, and he now knew she was home alone. When Ellie's friends and family couldn't reach her over the next few days, panic set in. Her mother, Tamara, reported her missing on August 1, 2018. There was no doubt in anyone's mind that this was connected to the stalking. Ellie's car was still parked outside her house, and there was no activity on her phone or bank accounts. Her disappearance felt like a nightmare that none of them could wake up from. The police intensified their investigation, and as they combed through Ellie's phone records, they discovered that one of the numbers associated with Nate had a 213 area code. The number had been purchased through a website, but it wasn't linked to any other phone and hadn't been active since the day Ellie went missing. Detectives knew they were dealing with someone who was tech-savvy and determined to cover their tracks. Over the next 2 weeks, as the search for Ellie continued, the police received information from the website where the number was purchased. They were able to trace the account back to Michael Strauss, Ellie's ex-boyfriend. Michael had a criminal history that included public indecency, drug possession, identity fraud, and burglary. The public indecency charge from 2015 had led to a court-mandated mental health evaluation and a year of treatment. But what really caught the detectives' attention was that Michael had created multiple new phone numbers to contact other women in the area. He had even created a new account minutes after the last message was sent to Ellie using the 213 area code. On August 24, 2018, nearly a month after Ellie was reported missing, a tragic discovery was made. The body of a young woman was found in a field in Liberty Township, not far from Westchester. The body was naked, wrapped in a blanket, bound with duct tape, and had a plastic bag over the head. The cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation. The scene was horrifying, and the proximity to where Michael Strauss lived only heightened suspicions. The police arrested Michael the next day at 4 a.m., and he was taken into custody. As investigators tore his house apart, they found chilling evidence that linked Michael directly to Ellie's murder. Google had turned over information showing that an IP address registered to Michael's residence had been used to search for phrases like "How long does a dead body smell?", "Missing girl in Westchester, Ohio", and even Ellie's name. The search history painted a terrifying picture of a man obsessed with death, violence, and control. Investigators also found numerous videos on Michael's devices, showing him following women as they jogged in parks or walked alone at night. In one particularly disturbing video, Michael could be heard talking to himself, narrating his thoughts as he stalked an unsuspecting woman. When the police confronted Michael with the evidence, he initially denied everything, claiming he had nothing to do with Ellie's disappearance. But when they presented him with a screenshot of a field taken from his Maps app, the same field where Ellie's body was found, Michael's demeanor changed. He became agitated, offering a vague excuse about doing research for a film project he was working on. Michael claimed to be involved in the film industry, creating horror movies and psychological thrillers. But the most damning piece of evidence was found inside Michael's art portfolio. Tucked between the pages were Ellie's driver's license, a lock of her hair, and her pink necklace, a necklace that her mother had given her on her 18th birthday. When confronted with these items, Michael's calm facade finally cracked. Under pressure, Michael confessed to killing Ellie but claimed it was an accident. He told the police that Ellie had agreed to shoot a torture porn video with him, something he claimed to do regularly for money. According to Michael, Ellie had consented to the entire scenario, but things went wrong when she accidentally suffocated during filming. He said he panicked, watched the footage, and then deleted it before disposing of her body. The detectives didn't believe a word of it. They knew Ellie would never agree to something so depraved, and the evidence of duct tape, handcuffs, and the brutal manner of her death told a different story. Michael had lured Ellie to his house, likely under the pretense of needing to talk or reconcile, and had then forced her into a horrific situation that ended in her death. The case against Michael Strauss was overwhelming. The evidence collected from his home, his digital footprint, and his own confession painted a chilling picture of a man who had carefully planned and executed a murder, all while tormenting his victim in the months leading up to it. During the trial, Michael's defense team attempted to argue that Ellie's death was a tragic accident, the result of a consensual act gone wrong. They claimed that Michael had no intention of killing Ellie and that he was simply a misunderstood artist with a dark sense of humor. But the jury wasn't swayed. They saw through Michael's lies and recognized the truth: Ellie had been murdered in cold blood by a man who had been stalking her for months. The prosecution presented the search history, the videos, and the physical evidence found at Michael's home. They argued that Michael had a clear pattern of stalking and harassing women, and that Ellie's murder was the culmination of his twisted fantasies. The jury deliberated for just a few hours before returning with a verdict: guilty on all counts. Michael Strauss was sentenced to life in prison, without the possibility of parole. The judge, in delivering the sentence, remarked on the heinous nature of the crime and the devastating impact it had on Ellie's family and the community. He noted that Michael's lack of remorse and his attempts to justify his actions only made the crime more egregious. Ellie's family, while relieved that justice had been served, struggled to find closure. The trial had been a harrowing experience, forcing them to relive the details of Ellie's final moments. But they took some comfort in knowing that Michael would never be able to hurt anyone else. In the weeks following the trial, Ellie's friends and family gathered to remember her life. They held a celebration of life in her honor, encouraging everyone to wear tie-dye, one of Ellie's favorite patterns, and to bring something to contribute to a scrapbook of memories. They planted a tree in her name, a symbol of life and growth in the face of tragedy. The tragic story of Ellie Weik is a sobering reminder of the dangers that can lurk in the shadows, even in the seemingly safe spaces of our lives. Her story highlights the importance of taking stalking and harassment seriously, as these behaviors can escalate into something far more sinister. As we remember Ellie, we also reflect on the countless others who have been affected by similar crimes and the need for vigilance in protecting those who may be vulnerable. Here at soralaw, we are committed to bringing you the stories that matter, the stories that remind us of the fragility of life and the importance of justice. If this case has touched you, please consider subscribing to our channel and hitting the notification bell so you won't miss our next investigation. Together, we can shed light on the darkness and honor the memory of those whose lives have been tragically cut short.